So I'll just get that going. Right. So welcome, everyone. My name's Alison Watts. I'm from the Southern Cross Postgraduate Association. And welcome to this Endnote Beginners Workshop to Endnote. This came about from a suggestion from a student who was interested, and we enjoy those suggestions from students to, find workshops that are necessary and needed for you. Just briefly, we'll be also running a second Endnote workshops, more like for an advanced workshop in 2 weeks, and that'll be Thursday the 20th. So I'll send out an email reminder to everyone about that one. So that's how Cynthia and Jill, our wonderful Endnote SCU librarians, wanted to do it, is kind of present in 2 workshops, which I think is great. So that's enough from me. I'll over to you, Jill and Cynthia. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison.
Thank you.
I guess at the start we should say that, Cinzia and I aren't Endnote experts.
Okay, sorry, did I oversell that?
I guess it's just a little disclaimer.
Sure.
Endnote is a software program. Now, software programs take time to learn, and different people will, have a different level of skill with that. In saying that, we should be able to get you through the basics of setting up Endnote so that you can use it. And maybe in time, you will end up being better users than we are, because it's one of those things that if you're using it all the time, you'll become more skilled at it. Now, I'm not sure if all of you or some of you answered our little survey about your experience with Endnote. We had a few responses back, and most people hadn't had any experience with Endnote. I think there was only like 1 or 2 people that had had some experience with Endnote, and certainly one of those people was experienced, and I would say that this workshop is not for that person. They could maybe wait until the next one. But we also are just interested to know in how many people have actually downloaded and installed Endnote at this point.
I have.
Can see a few hands going up.
Cool.
That's great. Some in the chat. Was there anyone who encountered issues or has not been able to download it? Lauren, maybe? There's a thumbs up. I'm not sure if that's yes to issues or yes to download.
Yes to issues. It was just that timing of the question.
Kai said they haven't. If you haven't managed to download it, we're not actually going to go through the download and install in this session, just because that just takes time, and because it's only a 1-hour workshop, we want to get through into the more media stuff of understanding the basics. But if you can just follow along, or if you can even look at the download and install instructions now and do it, it's pretty quick. It doesn't take very long, and then you'll be able to follow along with the rest of the workshop.
And the other, I guess, point of interest is that I know some people, when they start their studies, will go out and buy themselves a MacBook. Now, sometimes there's issues with Macs and Endnote and using Endnote, but largely we find that that's because you're not familiar with using a Mac. So people might be struggling to use their new Mac, plus they've downloaded a new type of software. So eventually, you'll sort of come to grips with that when you get used to using the Mac as well. And the other thing I should point out with a Mac is when you download and install Endnote, you won't see anything on your Mac because you won't see a window. But if you have a look up on the top left-hand side, at the top of the screen where your Apple symbol is, if you've got the program open, you will see Endnote across the top. When you create a library, then you will start to see more of the window type format of the program. So I'm not sure if anybody has encountered that yet. But anyway, we'll get started and I'll share my screen to begin with. And I'm going to turn my video off as well. Okay, so we thought we'd just point out, and I think you've already all received the link to the Endnote LibGuide from the library website. So we will start basically from here, and this is where you access the download and install information. But also, if you explore the LibGuide a bit, you'll find lots of these videos embedded from Clarivate, which is the company that produce Endnote. They also produce the Web of Science database as well. So Clarivate is that company. And you can also, if you have really quite difficult technical problems with Endnote down the track, you're quite welcome to contact the support email from Clarivate. And we have found them to actually be quite responsive this year. In previous years, we haven't found them to be very responsive, but it must be a new service model and they are actually responding to our queries. So this is the place where you want to start. I will also point out that we're probably just going to run through as many of these steps as we can today with setting up Endnote. But there is also an Endnote tutorial here, which we adapted from UQ, which is a H5P basically, and it steps you through the process of setting up Endnote as well. And you might find if you're not catching up from this workshop, that is another tool that you can use to help you start using Endnote. But if we just go back up here, so the first step in the process is to create an Endnote library. Now, I already have an Endnote library, so this is my Endnote here. Let me just get this over here. So there's a couple of considerations when you're creating an Endnote library. You should never save your Endnote library to the cloud, to any cloud storage system, and preferably not any network drives or like something like OneDrive or a Dropbox folder. And that's because over time the library can become corrupted and you might lose all of your hard work. So when you're working on a library, it's best to start saving it in basically somewhere on your C drive if you can, so your hard drive. So you can have more than one library open at a time, but we recommend that you should really only need to create one library to work from. And that's because your organization of the library will be largely through these things called groups and group sets. As you can see down the side here, I've got lots of groups and group sets. So we'll go through that a little bit in more detail later. But if I wanted to create a new library now, I'd just go to File, New. And it will immediately come up with, where are you going to store this library? So I just make sure that I'm in the C drive, probably under Users. And I can save it to my documents and I can call it something that's going to be meaningful to me. So I would call it Southern Cross Postgrad Workshop. Okay, so then I save that. And now Endnote has opened me up another library window. So as you can see, I've got my original library that's still open and I've got this new library open. So I can close that other library, but I'll probably just close this one for now because I've got more things to show you in that one. So if I wanted to go back and open that library, I would just go File, Open Library, and then find it in my folder. Endnote libraries are two file types kept together, and you must always keep those two folders together. And you don't really need to know the details about that now, but later on down the track, if you end up sharing a library with a collaborator or with your research supervisor, it's important to always share it in the correct way so that you're keeping the components of the EndNote library together. Okay, so that's basically how you create your library. Call it something meaningful. Know where you store your library on your C drive. They're the important things. And then we'll get into adding references to your library and organizing your groups. Okay, so Chintzie's going to start with adding references. So I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Jill. Just before I go to adding references to your library, were there any questions about creating and setting up your library or saving your library? No. Okay. Great. So let me just I'm going to turn my video off as well and then share my screen. Sorry, just a moment. Oh, find the right screen.
Oh, actually, did you want me to do that setting the full text preferences?
Oh, full text. Yes, sorry.
Yes, sorry.
We'll just go back a step.
So you need to stop sharing. I'm sorry, that's my bad.
Okay, go, Jill.
We're not sticking to our own plan here. Okay, so one of the first things that you'll need to do, and preferably before you start adding references to your library, is to set your preferences in finding full text documents. So you go to Edit Preferences, and you'll see all these options here down the side about your preferences in EndNote. The one that you want is Find Full Text. Make sure that you've got all these boxes ticked, 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. And in our EndNote LibGuide, underneath PDF management and Find Full Text, you'll find these URLs that you need to copy and paste into those 2 boxes. And that helps EndNote when you're using the Southern Cross Library databases. It allows EndNote to extract that information and find the full text documents so that it's streamlined more with your EndNote library. So as you can see here, I've copied and pasted those URLs from the LibGuide into these paths, the Open URL path, and then the Authenticate with this, which is our easy proxy login. The other thing that you'll notice here that I've ticked is automatically invoke Find Full Text on newly imported references. So if I import a reference, or like Chintzie's going to show you, import a reference from the library catalog, once you've imported the citation information, just give EndNote a minute or so, and you will see down here in the Find Full Text that it's working to try and find the PDF or the full text file that's associated with that reference. And it will tell you whether or not it finds that. So that gives you another option to go in there and maybe find it in an alternative way or add it manually. So again, it's just Edit, Preferences, Find Full Text, click those 4 boxes and copy and paste those 2 URLs.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, let me just stop my video and share my screen again. So we're going to start with, sorry, now my screen, oh, there it is. I'm going to take you through how to start putting your references into your EndNote library. So you can add references in manually, And you can also import references from the library catalog and also any databases that you are using. So before I show you how to put them in from the library catalog, I just thought that I would quickly show you how, if you're wanting to add a reference in manually. So this might be for a few different reasons. I'm assuming most of you will probably be importing them, but it's good just to know how to put them in manually as well, just in case. So it's pretty straightforward. If you wanted to put in a manual reference, you just open up your Endnote library, select new reference, and this new screen will open. And this is where you start to select what kind of reference you're putting in. So if it's a journal article, if it's a conference paper, if it's a book, for example, or if it's a newspaper or website, the most important thing is getting that reference type right.
Hey, sorry. Your screen is stuck on the SCU homepage. We actually can't see the end. I don't know if you're on
Thank you,
double
Madison.
screens or not, but we just can't see.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm looking at my
It's all
Endnote library
good.
and you're not. Okay.
I dual screen as well.
Okay, give me one moment. Okay, can you see, it says new reference Chintzy 20 library at the top there now?
Yes.
Yep, can you see that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, everyone. So I might just go back I won't go back a step, but when you're in your Endnote library up the top, you'll see the menu in Endnote that's got File, Edit, References. So if you select References and New Reference, it will open this little screen and you can manually put in the reference if you need to. So I was just saying before, that's where the reference type is. So that's where you can select what the reference is you're putting in. Obviously, the most important elements of the reference: author, year, title, the publication, depending on what the reference type is, if you're going to be putting in volume or issue, pages. The most important thing, if you're putting it in manually, and we have these tips in our LibGuide as well, is with author names, you need to do a new line for every author. So if you're putting in John Smith, for example, and you're just doing a new line for each author that's in part of the publication. If it's an organizational author, for it to show up correctly in your Word document in Cite While You Write, you do need to put in a comma after the organizational name for it to show up correctly. Otherwise, Endnote thinks that it's a regular author with a surname and a first name, and it's not going to show up correctly when you're in Cite While You Write. So I'm just going to close that now. And now I'm going to reshare, and I'll reshare the library catalog with you. And we'll look at importing a reference from the library catalog. So can everyone see the library homepage there, the library screen? Yes, Alison's, I can see you nodding. Great. So obviously you will put in your keywords for whatever you are searching for. Once you see your results, you have the option to import either one at a time, or if there's a couple that you're seeing in your results, you can actually import, select multiples and import them all at one time. So there is two different ways they lead you to the same place. You can either click the title of the article, or you can also click these three little dots here, and that opens up this little menu where you can see that there's a little EndNote button there. So if you select that, again, these instructions are in our LibGuide. The encoding that you select is UTF-8, and then that will download for you. And so it will become a little export file. Usually go to your downloads menu, and if you click on that, it will open up into EndNote. So I might just have to reshare, just let me know. I'll just open up my EndNote. Can you see my EndNote library now? Okay, sorry, I'll just reshare. So once you click it from your downloads menu, that little file, it just automatically will go into EndNote, and you'll see it in your imported references. So that's the reference that I downloaded there. If I double click it, it opens up the details on the right-hand side. Now you can see it's very, very basic, that one. If you want to edit it, you can edit, and you can put in any other details if there's anything missing. This is a great way to double check that all the details are correct from your imported file. Sometimes there can be errors, and depending on the referencing style that you're using, you might need to edit some of the elements. If you go back to the summary, there's a little arrow on the bottom here, and that shows you what your reference will look like once it's in your Word document. So you can see I have APA 7th here. If you were using another style, that's where you would change the style, and you can see the reference changes depending on the style that you select. I'll just go back to APA 7th. If you wanted to attach the PDF, you can also do that. Before I go into attaching the PDF, I'll just quickly show you how to export multiple references, and then we'll look at the PDFs. So if I just stop sharing for a moment and go back to the library catalog and reshare. So that was the first one that we downloaded. So I'm just looking at peer-reviewed journals here. So you're looking at your results and you would like to save a couple. I don't know if many of you use this already in our library catalog, but you can save different results into your favorites folder. So all you need to do is click that little pin. So there's 1, 2, and maybe 3. So then they go up into your little favorites folder that's at the top there. If you click on that, you'll see all the records that you've saved. So if I want to export all of those ones, I would just select all of them. And then again, I go to that little menu and I can see my EndNote button there. And it's exactly the same as if it were a single reference. Download, you can see it downloads down the bottom. And once I click on it, it will go into my library. So if I open up my library, I'll just make sure I reshare it again. And you can see again, it's gone into the imported references, and those are those 3 that I just imported. So now if you actually, before I go on to attaching PDFs, are there any questions?
Yes, this is Helen.
Hi,
If I
Helen.
wanted to, g'day. If I wanted to, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of pressure when you're doing it live.
Yeah.
If I could just ask this question. So I've done that before where I've downloaded, say, 3 articles.
Mhm.
And then what I wanted to do is come back to them tomorrow. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is they're in my library. I'll just double click on them and then I can read those articles tomorrow. When I went back to them, I couldn't find out how I could double click on them. I didn't have any access to the article. All I could see, like in the right-hand side, was that very brief summary, which obviously didn't help me write my essay.
So I'm assuming you didn't attach the PDFs. You just had the record that was in your library.
Possibly not.
Yeah. So it does not automatically download when you're doing it the way I just showed you. It doesn't automatically put the PDF in straight away. So what I'll show you now is how to put the PDFs in into the reference. So there's a few different ways that you can do it. You can do it through the find full text function, which is the reason why we did those copy and pasting of those URLs in your preferences before. So you can see when you right click on the reference, you can select find full text and it will try and find the PDF for you. Let me just log in.
So that's good there because this often pops up the box that Chincy just that was just on Chincy's screen, and that's the authentication box. So even though you pasted those URLs into your preferences, if you haven't used Endnote for a while, or if you've logged out and logged back in, you'll be asked to re-authenticate. So you just have to put in your SCU credentials if that box pops up.
Thanks, Jill. So you can see now, Helen, that and everyone else, you can see it's telling me that it found a PDF, and that PDF, you can see that little paperclip, which means it has a PDF attached to it, and you can see the PDF in the record here on the right-hand side. So that's a really quick way to locate the PDFs. Sometimes they won't, that way won't find the PDF, and you might have to download the PDF manually and then import it into Endnote. And I'll show you how to do that now. But
can I just get you, Chincy, to have a
Yes.
look at your preferences in your find your full text? So if you go preferences, yep, find full text. Yeah. So because Chincy's also got that automatically invoke find full text, for databases that tends to work better than it does for the library catalogue. I just wanted to have a look at that. Thank you.
That's right.
I have a question as well.
Yes,
if it's
Zoe.
the right time. Just with the encoding, when you're getting the citation, you go to encoding, and you did the drop down and said we need to pick the UTF-8. I've never done that before. I've always just double click download and it's gone to the library. So is that going to mess up the information, or am I missing something potentially?
I don't think it messes up the information. It probably will just automatically go to that first option, the UTF.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think that you have to necessarily select that. I just suppose I have the habit of doing that.
Yeah. I used to do that too, but yeah, you don't have to select it because it is the first option that pops up.
Okay, all right, perfect. I thought I had to undo some things.
Any other questions? No? Okay. So if that the find full text doesn't give you the PDF, then obviously you have the other option to download the PDF and attach it. So just imagine that we're back at the library catalogue and we've downloaded the PDF and it's gone into a particular folder. You would just find the record in your Endnote library and you can select attach and find that particular PDF and attach it, and then it will be there. What you can also do, some students, before they start using Endnote, have already got a lot of PDFs that they have saved for the work that they've already been doing. They might have a folder with lots of PDFs, and you can actually import. So if you've just started using Endnote and you've already got all these PDFs, you can actually import the whole folder of PDFs into Endnote, which is going to save you a lot of time. So to do that, you would just go to File, Import, and then select Folder. And then you would just find your little folder. So I previously saved a little demo folder in my Endnote PDFs to import. So I would select that, and then I would just import. And I only had 2 saved in there, but it's put them in for me. And it's also put in the record information, which is awesome. So I would just double check that that's all correct. And then I have the record and the PDF already in there.
So
what? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So another way of doing that, if you go to your edit preferences and then go down to PDF handling, so you can click this PDF auto import folder down the bottom and pick that folder, which is your PDFs to import. Okay. And that way, and if you apply and actually change it to author and title up here, your preferences, apply and then click OK, then Endnote will automatically import any PDF that you put into that folder. So you don't have to keep going back and forth between.
Yes, thanks, Jill. I'm just trying to think. Okay, so once you're also in Endnote and you have the PDFs in there, you can actually make notations on the PDFs. Once you have the record open and you click on that little PDF option, if you click on that little markup annotation, you can actually highlight areas that you think are important in that particular PDF. You can add little sticky notes. So we do have students who like to who find that helpful and like to use that. So you can keep a record of any comments or thoughts you have on any of your research and work that you're looking at. Jill, was there anything else I haven't covered in that section?
No, only that when if you annotate PDFs, that's only stored within Endnote. So it doesn't happen. You can't take that sort of outside of Endnote, just to keep that in mind.
Yes, thank you. I think that's it for the catalogue, unless there are any other questions.
I have a question. Can those journal articles be downloaded, like printed off in a hard copy from Endnote?
Yes, you can print them. You can see, sorry, I'll just reshare again. There we go, that one. You can see that there's that little print icon there. So you can print that from there, and you can attach it to an email as well. And just that's where you save the changes, any annotations that you make.
Sorry, I had that covered over with the chat.
Oh,
sorry.
That's okay, Amanda.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
That's good. That's a good question. I haven't had that one
Yeah.
pop up before.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we can now have a look at exporting references from databases. Let me just move some things around. Screen. Now let me know if my share screen thing doesn't work either. Okay, so I've already got some databases open, but I guess I wanted to know, are there any particular databases that you guys use, or are you all doing different things so that you'll have a variety of databases that you commonly use?
I haven't started yet, so I'm not using anything currently.
All right, so I guess the most common ones that we use are EBSCO and maybe Proquest, and then we've got some other citation databases like Web of Science and Scopus. So just a little refresher, you can access any database from the databases page from the SCU Library. So from the homepage of the library, click on the link to databases, and you can browse them alphabetically, or you can go by subject. Now, some of the subject ones will take you to the database, and they'll already have pre-selected databases, because I guess databases have got databases within the database, if that makes sense. So you can select and deselect what you're actually searching for. So I'll start with EBSCO, which I already opened up, so everyone can see that okay, I hope. So yeah, up here, just a reminder again, you can choose databases within EBSCO, and I think I'd already selected Sinal for this one. My computer's sort of just freaked out a little bit. A problem occurred. Okay, so we'll close that and I'll start again. So if I just go down to EBSCO.
It might have just timed out, Jill.
Oh, yes.
Don't know if some of you find that if you're using EBSCO databases, if you leave it idle for a little while, it'll time out, which can be a little bit frustrating.
I certainly did leave it idle. Okay, so if we just do a search, say diabetes type 2, something like this. Bariatric surgery, and just see what we get. Okay, so we just want peer reviewed, and we want to limit that date. So in the database, you can see already whether or not there's a PDF attached, or both HTML, full text, or PDF. Or if we don't have the PDF, you've got the Find It button. So I'll just maybe select the ones that we've got PDFs for. But in any database that you're using, it doesn't matter whether it's EBSCO, Proquest, Web of Science, there's going to be an option for exporting the reference to Endnote. As you can see here, I always recommend that with these databases that you do a sign in, because, and it's the same with the library catalog, if you sign in, you get to store things in a folder and you can save your previous searches. So it's always beneficial to sign in because it keeps your history. And I guess that's just a good tip for all students, not just postgrad students. So now you can see up here, I've got sign out, which means I've signed in. So there's a couple of different ways to do this as per the library catalog. So you can add to your folder. You can click on the actual reference, and down the side here, there's the export option. So if I clicked on that and went export manager comes up. With Endnote, if there's not an actual Endnote desktop option, you always choose the RIS or RISE format. So if we just do that, for example, save, and then you can see that the RISE file is down here. And if I click on it, because I also use Endnote Online, my option, destination option, comes up all the time with, are you going to export it to Endnote or are you going to export it to Endnote Online? So, and I think sometimes Macs do that as well. I'm not 100% sure. But we always choose the desktop version. And so that updates. And then if I open up my Endnote.
Sorry, Jill, I just missed that where you exported it to Endnote, where that little button was.
So just down the side here, export.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it's a bit faint there. So I tend to have this problem with EBSCO, which I've noticed before. There we go. I need to pull that screen out a little bit so that you can actually see it in my imported references. The other thing that I thought of when Chincy was showing from the library catalog, in Endnote, these imported references, so that's just what you've imported at that moment, recently added, that can last up to 24 days, so 24 hours, sorry. So references that you've added within 24 hours will show there, and then they'll disappear from there. From there, you've got this clipboard called Unfiled. Now, as you can see, I've got 99 unfiled references just because I fiddle with Endnote too much. And I don't know what to do with all of those because they don't fit into my groups. So when you import a reference, that's probably the best time to have a look at it and make sure that the reference looks how you want it to look. My import has just disappeared. There we go, recently added. So it's this one that I've just imported. So as you can see also, find full text. It hasn't added that PDF, so let's see if we can make it. Find full text. And you can see here in the find full text menu, it's searching. It's got one, so it tells you that. And it's saying it's not found. So that's annoying, isn't it? Because it should really find it. This is one of those times, I'm not going to do it now, but you would download that PDF and then attach it as Chincy has done. So you can see sometimes it doesn't work. But really, I just wanted to point out too that unfiled area. That's where you can then sort into your groups that you'll make, and you might make your groups under a unit code, or you might make a group underneath the research project, for example. So if we go back to EBSCO, and another way that you can do this is, as I said, like if you add things to your folder, and then go to your folder. And just at like the Chincy showed you with the library catalog, you can select or deselect all. And then your export option is over here again. So you'd export. And that first option is direct export in RIS format. And it also gives you the option over here to deselect those or remove those items from your folder once you've exported. So, and there's the file there. If I click on it, and then I've got those references there. And you can see down here, it is searching now for the full text because I've ticked that box, which is the automatically invoke find full text in those full text preferences. Okay. So that's basically EBSCO. So we can have a quick look at Proquest. So again, it's just in a similar way. So if I put in a totally different term, we've got a technical problem, so we'll go back. So, sorry, that was EBSCO, wasn't it? Proquest one. Policy. So again, I just want scholarly journals the last 5 years. So again, any database, you're going to find these options. They might just look a little bit different. So in Proquest, you've got this option up here. You can already select the first 20. And the other thing that you can do both in this database and others, if you scroll down to the bottom, because we've got it selected on down here, right down the bottom corner, items per page, you can change that to 10, 20, 50, 100. So if you wanted to select 100 references to export, you could do that. I might just pick 10, select 10, and then over here, you've got your export options with the 3 little dots. So clicking on that, and it's giving you Endnote, and then this options come up, and of course we keep on the RIS and the content to check that it's got everything there, and click. Oh, I've got to confirm I'm not a robot. Bicycles. There are no bicycles. That's because I'm not signed in. And then continue. And Proquest actually opens up another page for its download. And then again, you get your RIS files down here. So the same thing would happen. Open them up.
We've got 10 minutes, Jim.
Okay. So basically, all the databases that we've got will give you those options. The one thing I just wanted to show you with Web of Science was a slightly different way that you can do it. And this might be helpful for you if you go on to publish, or if you develop your own research profile, and that's to search by author and save the publication sets of that author to Endnote. So if I just do a quick researcher search, I want this one, and you can see the author details come up, and you can view those publications as a set of results. And again, here you can select them all and then export them to Endnote desktop. So it works in a similar way. So you could either do in Web of Science like a document search or an author search quite easily. But I'll stop sharing and we'll quickly just go over to do some Cite While You Write.
Jill, should we just quickly look at groups before we jump into that?
Okay.
Just briefly.
Okay, so share screen. So the groups can be a little bit confusing because just of the terminology. So underneath groups, I've got group sets and groups. So if I wanted to create another group set, you click create group set, and I might call that cross postgrad. Okay, and then I might create within that group set EndNote. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to organize your work. So you might have a group set for every unit that you're studying or every research project. And then within that group set, so the group set is the one with the little downward arrow, you can put in a group, just a group, and name that, you know, it might be by author, it might be by topic, for example. So it might take a little bit of figuring out how you want to organize your references. But if I can then say, I've just imported those ones, I'll just click and drag them over to that folder. So my unfiled is still large, but I can actually select on some of those unfiled ones and drag them over to whatever group I would like. So as you can see, that number goes down and this number goes up. So it's up to you, but that's basically the difference between a group set. So a group set, think of it as a major heading, and the group are the minor headings that sit underneath your group sets. And you can access that just by clicking on groups up here, create group. So remember, the overarching one is a group set, and then the minor folder is a group. Okay, does that make sense?
Thanks, Jill. So I am conscious of the time. I know that we're almost at 10 o'clock Queensland time. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen for the site while you write. So I've just got a little test document here. Might just stop my video. There we go. Move this little chat over there. Okay, so once you, I'm just going to, sorry, I just don't want any of the Zoom heading to take my Word doc menu at the top. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. So once you download EndNote, you should have this little EndNote toolbar in your Word program. So this is where you edit any references that you put into your Word document. You can see that I've already added a few in here. The main things to know is that once you start putting references from EndNote into your Word document, they are connected to your EndNote desktop software. So you can see when I click on a reference, it is highlighted. So that's telling me that it's connected to my EndNote software. So once you finish your Word document and you're no longer needing it to be connected to EndNote and you need to submit it, that's when you save it as a plain text document and it's no longer connected to EndNote. So you will not be able to edit references in EndNote and the change to be automatic in your Word document. But before we sort of talk about that too much, let's just look at adding a simple reference. So once you're writing your document, blah, 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 and you're ready to put in your first reference, all you need to do, it's very simple. If you make sure your EndNote tab is open, on the left, you can see Insert Citation. So if you click on Insert Citation, you can search for the reference that you would like to add. For example, I might choose that one and you click Insert. You can see that it puts the in-text citation and it also adds it to my reference list. So this is why students, when they hear about EndNote, really love it, because they're like, oh my God, it's going to be so much quicker for my referencing. I don't have to type everything out. So once you get a grip on it, it is really useful, and it does make referencing in your documents quicker and in some ways easier. But there are certain things that you need to remember. For example, if you make a mistake about putting in a reference and you want to remove it, you cannot just simply delete it with the keyboard, because it has that connection to Endnote. Once your document is refreshed, if you delete it just with the backspace, it will just pop that reference back in. So you actually have to select the reference, go up to Edit and Manage Citations, and actually remove it this way. So then it is no longer in your Word document and no longer connected in Endnote. So if you can see that I've put my reference in 2 different ways there. Or the automatic way that Endnote imports it in is with the author and the year in the parenthesis, but you can choose to import it as author prominent. So if you are putting in a reference again, once you have the reference you would like to put in, instead of clicking insert, which just puts it in as the author and the year in the brackets, if you click on the little down arrow, you can choose how you would like it to be inserted. So if you want to display it as author with the year just in brackets, you can select that, and then you can see it becomes the author prominent citation. Any questions on that so far?
Sorry, did I miss the bit where we choose which referencing style we import our references into Endnote?
So no, sorry, I didn't cover that yet. So you can see the styles are just up here. So you should automatically have APA 7th. Endnote 20 includes APA 7th in the software. So make sure that you have APA 7th selected in your Endnote software, and then you should have the APA 7th option here. And yes, sorry, I'll just open up the Endnote program to show you where it is. Sorry, I just have to reshare. So if you opening, there we go. So remember how we had Endnote APA 7th selected here?
Oh, yes.
So that's how you know, yeah, what referencing style that you have selected.
Thank you.
That's okay. So which one? Oh, the edit and manage. Yeah, sorry, just conversing with Jill. We're so conscious of the time.
Yeah. I'm just like a little voice in the back of her head.
Yeah, Jill, did you want to look at that?
Since you're sharing there, so do you want to just go ahead with that?
Can you see my document again?
No, we've got Endnote up.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so that's my Word document that you can see there now. So again, if you are editing the citation, if you need to edit it for any reason.
So for example, you wanted to put in a page number or something like that.
So you click on the edit and manage citations. So this little box pops up. So yeah, if you wanted to put in a page number, for example, you can see that you've got the pages just here. So if you wanted to put in page 1, just put in the page number and okay, and then that adds it in for you. There is some little tips on the guide about adding in page numbers. It's a bit different if you're using a different referencing style to APA 7th. Yeah, but just look at the guide if you need to for that section. So we looked at adding a
And
reference.
Deleting a reference.
We looked at deleting a reference. We looked at editing it and putting in a page number. Were there any other questions? This is only the very basic site while you're at stuff. We are 10:01 now. I'm conscious if people have to leave.
Yep. Helen's just asking if she can stay on after, because she's got a little problem with Harvard, so we might stay on and give her a hand. But really editing references and making them look how you want them to look, which is in accordance with the style guide, say for example for APA, can get a little bit complicated. And we're hoping to go more into that in the advanced session.
Can I just ask a question?
Of course.
I did send a chat. No, my Word document only offers APA 6 in the drop down. Does that mean I can do something else through Endnote, or is it a matter of updating Word?
I've not seen that before, so it might depend on what Word version you've got.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
I'm just having a look.
Version 10, I think I'm still.
So if you click on that drop down menu of the style,
it's about 4 on offer. I get Harvard, I get Chicago, I get APA 6.
Okay, so when you go into Endnote, I'll just quickly share my screen. Okay, so in Tools, Output Styles, if you open the Style Manager, all available styles are here. The ones that you've ticked, so like that might include APA 6, will then become options for you to use. And I've got mine on, I've got an edited version of APA 7, so APA 7 proper, and then in Word, open that up. Yeah, so that 6 appears there now, and it didn't before in Harvard, so it should be in there.
Okay, so it's a matter of going through Endnote.
So the Endnote Styles.
Okay.
So if you remember, it was Tools, Output Styles, open the Style Manager. And you should be able to find APA 7 in there because it comes with it automatically. So just make sure you click the right one, APA 7 there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give that a go. Thank you. That will make life easier.
Yeah, it will. And we Endnote is, it's supposed to make your life easier, but don't be surprised if you get a few grey hairs using it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we might have to wrap it up very soon. Thanks for that. I certainly learned a lot in that session too. I must admit, I'm a bit old school with downloading PDFs. I just download them manually to a folder and then attach in EndNote. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Whatever, organization sort of system works for you, as long as you know where they are. Yeah.
Okay, I might just stop the recording. Thanks so much. And as I said, we'll be back again on the 20th of October to do a bit more advanced EndNote. So I'll start